I've been going a bit V10 mad lately. I think it's because my V10 MX-5 project car keeps getting delayed, although I've been told there'll be news on that in the new year. I've been driving a Dodge Viper, a V10 TVR Sagaris, and all that has done is made me want to buy my very own V10 daily driver. Something like this. In case you need reminding, this is a BMW E63 M6, and I personally think it's being slept on as a super GT car. This is a 500 horsepower, naturally aspirated V10 BMW that, if you find a scruffy one, you can get for around 10 grand. You tell me another car that gives you that amount of power with no turbos for that price. Other than an E60 M5 with the same engine, of course. There's the V10 Audi saloons, but they can't match this for power, and although they can be a lot cheaper, I think they're pretty boring compared to this. So, should I buy a V10 BMW M6? This is a customer car supplied to us by the guys and girls at Mr. Vanos up in Darlington, and the blue of this car I think really makes the shapes pop. Whether you think this car is good looking or not, however, well, the jury's out on that one. I think it looks decent, but I know a lot of people aren't fans. If you remember, Hammond brought one of these to a sports car shootout on the Isle of Man, where it was up against an Aston Martin Vantage and a Porsche 911. It was by far the most powerful car on that test. Now, it didn't go on to win it because realistically, this isn't a sports car. It's really a silly engine super GT car, so think of it more in the realm of the Bentley Continental GT or the Porsche Panamera. But to be honest, that suits me just fine. I do a lot of mileage going from drive-type shoot to drive-type shoot, and also nipping back up to Scotland when I can. So a big comfy GT car, but with a really interesting engine up front, is right up my street. There is a but though. In fact, there's a few. There's a reason these things are so cheap. Rod bearings. These notorious little things sit between the big end and the crankshaft, acting as the lubricated contact between the two. They are famous for wearing out, and when they do, they can spin and your lovely 5-litre V10 will instantly become a prop on the scrap heap challenge. Then there's the fuel consumption. I've been told to expect anything from 15 mpg down to 11 mpg, and when you're giving it the full 500 horsepower across a moorland road, 7 miles per gallon. That would be fairly catastrophic for my wallet. Then there's the whole package. A high revving engine that's full of motorsport tech in a car that's this large and heavy. It's no surprise that virtually every GT car after this era gained at least one, if not two, turbochargers, all in the name of torque. Through my research on the internet, people are saying that the M5 and M6 never really suited the S85 V10 due to its lack of torque and the weight of the vehicles. It's high revving, it's got a short stroke, and that is geared towards horsepower rather than torque. So people will go as far as to say that the M6 is lethargic, lacking that torque, and the car is just too heavy. However, I think that could be a load of rubbish. Let me explain. That is the E90 series of M3, a high-revving V8, fabulous balance, a true legend of the M-car stable. And then here's our M6, a car that has been plagued with the reputation of being a bit of a lump. But let me flash up the curb weight. The M6 Coupe comes in at around 1,710 kilograms. The M3 can get up to 1,680 kilograms. Now, I'm not saying that the M3 is heavy, but I expected this number to be upwards of 2 tons. The BMW engineers clearly did a fantastic job of making a car this big weigh so little. I reckon we need to rethink the M6. if I do go ahead and buy one of these cars, I'd need to make sure that the best quality parts and accessories were going on the car and that they could be bought quickly and easily. And that's why today's video is sponsored by our friends at eBay. If you jump onto eBay Motors, it's super easy to punch in your car's details and be served with a whole host of parts for your car. And you'd be mistaken for thinking that eBay is all about bagging second-hand parts. eBay Motors is full of trusted suppliers that will provide you with top quality parts so that you can modify your car, fix a fault, prepare it for an MOT, or even a track day. On top of that, on desktop, there's the My Garage feature, which allows you to save your vehicles so that it's even easier and quicker to start buying parts. For example, there's my Mazda, my MG, my Mondeo, and then one day, there could be an M6. So if you want to see what parts you can get for your car and start building up your own My Garage, click the link in the description below, and happy shopping on eBay Motors. So, is the M6 lethargic? Well, I've got an open bit of country road, I've got the car in its power mode, so I've got the full 500 horsepower. Let's see what she'll do. That's the kind of performance that gets this car to 60 miles an hour in mid 4 seconds and onto a top speed of 205 miles an hour if you get rid of the limiters. And I've seen on the internet, if you do a bit of fettling with the exhaust and the intake, this can become a 210 mile an hour car. That is proper supercar worrying performance. Oh, it picks up. I do have to talk about the elephant in the room though, the gearbox. This SMG gearbox is from before the time when dual clutch transmissions totally dominated the sports car, performance car market. It's what you call an automated manual, and it honestly feels like there's someone in the passenger seat that's doing the manual change for you. You click the paddle, and it's as if the person in the passenger seat hears you click it and thinks, oh, I need to change gear now, dips the clutch, changes gear, slams it back in, and you've changed gear. It is slow, to say the least, but you get used to it. And you basically have to drive it like a manual. When you're slowing up for a junction, the best thing to do is to flick down the gears, and as you come out of it, the best thing to do is to flick up, and I'm okay with that. I quite like having that sort of input in a car. If it was a silky smooth automatic shift, I feel the car would just be a bit boring. However, our pal Ashley, who's built the V10 TVR Sagaris, he's managed to get the M3's dual clutch transmission onto his S85 V10. So it can be done, and that would make the shifts much snappier. And you Americans out there had it even better. You had the option of a 6-speed manual instead of the 7-speed SMG transmission. So the SMG gearbox is a bit of a weak point, but what about the M6's handling? I think the wrong thing to do is to approach this car thinking that it's going to handle like an M3, because it doesn't. It's much softer, but you then drive it accordingly. I'm driving this car like I would something like an Aston Martin Vanquish or a DB9. Your aim is just to get from A to B quickly and sounding great, but not stressing out the suspension or searching for the limit of grip. Just cruising with a V10 soundtrack all the time. It ticks all the boxes for me. V10 engine, comfy. Fair enough, the MPG might not be where you want it to be. I think it looks good. I'm pretty sold. I may be a bit biased because I'm going V10 crazy these days, so I would like to hear from you guys. Should one of these be the next project car on the channel? It's potentially a very frightening purchase, but if we have an awesome sponsor on board like eBay, I don't see why we can't do the ownership experience of a car like this properly. It may be famous last words, but I don't see why we can't go around the car sorting everything that could possibly need sorting and end up with a clean, fixed, solid 500 horsepower V10 Super GT car. Anyway, comment below with whether I should take on the V10 daily life. And if you own an M6 or have ever owned one, do message me on Instagram. I'm Mike_Fernie, and tell me whether I'm thinking straight. I will read all of your comments and all of your messages, but in the meantime, I'm going to do a bit more sampling, just in case I miss something.